This conference will now be recorded.
In today's class, we are going to work with repairing the corrupted bootloader. This is one more issue what you might face while working with any Linux or Red Hat operating system, that one day you just powered on the machine and you are not able to boot it. The moment you power on the machine, instead of seeing the boot screen, it is giving you Grub related issues like Grub not found, Grub missing, or bootloader missing, something like that. You're getting the messages, but system is not booting. So if your Red Hat machine is not booting up, giving you Grub issues, how you are going to fix it? See, if at least it can give you boot screen, you can press any arrow key, you can type E, you can go to emergency mode and you can do something. But in this scenario, your OS is totally down. The moment you power on the machine, instead of seeing the boot screen, it is giving you some different what can I say, messages, but no system is booting. That timeout, countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that screen is also not appearing. So if your machine is totally down and you are not able to repair it or not able to boot it, I'm sorry, then you have to boot with Red Hat DVD. Only Red Hat DVD will allow you to access your faulty OS, and it would avoid any problems where you can fix the issues, or if not, at least you can recover your data. So let us try to see how to do that. We are going to first connect the Red Hat DVD. I'll go into settings. Inside settings, I'll go into storage. In storage, you see there is no DVD inserted. So let me click on DVD. I'll click on that DVD button. So as I've already used a DVD, so it is appearing in the list. If not, go for choose a disk file and select Red Hat DVD. Now let me say OK. Okay, one more thing I need to check, is it first bootable device or not? So we have already inserted Red Hat DVD. Now I also need to check, is it first boot disk? Yes, you see in the list, optical is first, hard disk is second. So it is always going to boot with my DVD. That's good. Let's double click on that and power on the machine. So as you see, the system has now booted with Red Hat DVD. See, I don't want to do a fresh installation. I want to repair my faulty OS. So go with troubleshooting option, hit enter, and there you can see the second option, rescue a Red Hat Enterprise Linux system. So if your OS is totally down and you're not able to access it and you want to access and repair it, then we have to go with rescue Red Hat system. So just select rescue and hit enter. Now this is going to take some time till we reach the rescue mode. Let me discuss with the theoretical part that what screens we are going to view. So as we went to troubleshooting, we opted for rescue mode. In a while, it will give you a screen like this. And here it will tell you that in rescue environment, we will try to find your operating system and we will keep it inside a location MNT sysroot. Yesterday, guys, when we were working, we went into sysroot. So in rescue mode, again there is sysroot, but it is available in MNT sysroot. So it says we will search, we will mount your operating system in MNT sysroot. Now, if you want to continue, type number 1. So in this box, you have to type 1 and hit enter to continue booting. Okay. So once you hit enter after typing 1, it is going to start search operation, and as soon as your operating system is found, it is going to mount it. So it says that we have mounted your operating system under MNT sysroot. In order to access it with root privileges, you have to run chroot command, the same thing what you have seen yesterday. So once you access the command line, you need to run chroot mnt sysroot, and it will give you your operating system access. Now once you access your operating system, you can do whatever you want to do inside it. Maybe you can reset the root password, or you can update any other changes in the configuration, or you can fix your bootloader issues. So let's see where we are. So we got that message. It says that while this rescue environment will try to search and keep your OS in MNT sysroot, please make a selection. So I'll say 1, and thereafter we have to hit enter. When you hit enter, it is going to continue with that. It will search it. Now this will take a little time to search and mount it. Once the search is completed, mounted, we will be getting another message. Mostly till here, everything will be fine. We would be accessing it, we would be working it. So if option number 1 is failing, then probably you have to go with option number 2, but that happens very rare, where we definitely work with option number 1, 99.9%. This step will resolve our issues. So we got the message that your OS is kept under MNT sysroot, and I need to run chroot command in order to access it. Now at the last line, if you observe, it is telling please press enter to get a shell. So if you want to run a command, it says you need a shell. To get a shell, press enter. The moment I hit enter, I'll get a shell. Now on this shell, I'm not in operating system. I'm in rescue mode right now. From rescue mode, if you want to access your OS, you have to run the command chroot mnt sysroot. Now when I hit enter, you got your operating system now. Here you can find all your directories what you created, like my aura and se file, se directory, test2. These are our OS things what we created, remember. Now, when I am into my operating system, you can do any activity now. It's your OS. You can change the password, you can edit any config file, whatever you want. But we are not here to do all that thing. Our scenario was the bootloader got corrupted and we need to reinstall the bootloader to fix that issue. If your system is giving boot issues, it is not booting at all, then you have to come into rescue mode and reinstall the bootloader. How can I reinstall the bootloader? A very simple command is there what you have to run. But before that, you should know in which hard disk you are trying to install this uh, bootloader. So in that hard disk, which has bootable partition, in that hard disk you have to install it. So if you observe here, our disk name is dev.sda, and in this there is a star field. Not every disk connected to your system will have boot partition. So this is really important. You should run fdisk command and verify in which hard disk the boot partition is there. Right, in that hard disk you have to reinstall bootloader. Suppose you have reinstalled bootloader in a separate new disk, then that is not going to fix your issue. In fact, it creates a bigger issue, right? So please be very, very careful. You should check that which disk is having boot partition. The disk that is holding the boot partition, in that only you have to reinstall your bootloader. So I check out, I came to know that SDA is the hard disk in which I'm having a boot partition. So now let's reinstall the Grub in SDA hard disk. We don't have to install it on a partition. On the hard disk, you have to do it. So simple command is there, grub to install, and the disk name is dev sda. Now it will take a moment. and very quickly your installation is finished and you see there are no errors reported. If there are errors reported, then try to understand what's the problem. It will give suggestions according to that you have to behave, or maybe you have to reinstall the bootloader 2 3 times. If that also not working, then your OS is totally down. Just take out your data, move it to somewhere someplace else and reinstall your operating system. But 99.9% cases, this step will resolve all major issues that you have with your bootloader in single attempt, right? Okay, now once this thing is completed, excuse me guys for a okay guys, so as the installation is finished, you have to type exit to leave this prompt and say exit one more time to restart your machine. But I don't want to restart, I want to shut it down. So I'll say power off. Why I am shutting it down? The reason is, guys, I don't want the bootloader, I mean the boot order to be with DVD. You remember we made DVD as our first boot device. So every time from now onwards the system restart, it is going to boot with DVD only. So I'm shutting down the machine. Then I'll go into the settings of my virtual machine and I'm going to change the boot order back to hard disk first. So let's go to our virtual machine settings. Only one change. Don't remove the DVD, let it be connected. Just come to system, select hard disk and put it up so that the system should be booted first with hard disk. If it is not available, then I want to go with optical media, that is DVD. So let's say OK and let us power on the machine. Now you will observe one more behavior. See, whenever your system is repaired or bootloader is recovered, the countdown will appear. If you see countdown, that means you have recovered the bootloader because here the bootloader started. If your countdown is also not appearing, that means your bootloader is corrupted. So as we have fixed the issue, the system is booting now normally. For the first time, listen to me carefully, for the first time after bootloader recovery, SE Linux policies will be automatically reloaded. See, we haven't created any hidden file, nothing we have done like yesterday, but it's an automatic process. Whenever you have reinstalled the bootloader, automatically, first time you boot, it reloads SE Linux policies. We don't do that on our own. It's an automatic process. So in a moment, a message will appear on the screen that SE Linux policies are going to get relabeled. So you know it takes long time. Let's leave it. Let's not disturb it. Meanwhile, let's move to another topic. So we have series of small topics today. One of them is dealing with services, managing installed services. See guys, services are nothing but the programs that runs behind the scene continuously so that your application should work perfectly. Every application, whether it is Apache web server or DNS server, or it might be your Mozilla Firefox, whatever it might be, they have a related service. And if this service is not running, that means that application will not work. So every service will be required by some application. And services in Linux are also called as daemons. Why they are called as daemons? Because you know daemons runs continuously, they never stop, right? As a belief or whatever you say. So from that it has been derived that they are daemons. Once you start, they will be continuously running behind the scene and waiting for any input or changes by the application. So every service has an associated application and every application has an associated service. So you see Apache server has a service HTTPD. That D is nothing but daemon. Same way if you are working with MySQL, so there is a daemon MySQL D. If you are working with for example, FTP, there is a daemon VSFTPD. So every service, every application will have a related service. Now let me show you a small thing related to these services. See guys, I just want to give you a small history for your information. As we studied yesterday that till RHEL 6, the mother process or the main process name was what? Init, remember? So init used to handle the services, and to handle the services, init uses two commands. First command is service command. With service command, you can start a service, you can stop a service, you can check the status of a service, you can reload a service, or you can restart a service. Now, I don't have to tell you start, stop, and status. You are starting, stopping, or checking the status of a service. The difference what you have to understand between reload and restart. See, sometimes you have some application and that application will have a related configuration file. So when you go to that configuration file, you make some changes sometimes. We are going to see this concept. So when you go to any configuration file and you make some changes inside it, you definitely want that changes to take place. Now, if you want to make that changes updated, you will try to restart the service. When you restart a service, guys, it is going to stop a service and again start. That means people who are connected to that application will see a deflection, or there will be a downtime kind of thing that it will stop, people will be disconnected, and again it would be started. So restart is going to completely shut down the service and again freshly start. Guys, to update a small change, I don't want to completely stop something and start it. So in that scenario, you can go for reload. What reload does is, without affecting the ongoing services, it just refreshes the service so that whatever changes you have done in the configuration file will be updated. So usually whenever we update any configuration file related to any application, to update those changes, we will refresh the service. In few cases, refresh or reload may not work. So in that scenario, you have to restart the service. Okay, so reload will not stop or affect the ongoing services, but it updates the changes. Whereas restart will stop and again start the services. That's the difference between reloading and restarting. Then you have another command called chkconfig that used to be there in Red Hat 6. Now it is no more available. See, service command effects is only till your system is up and running. So if your system is up and running, till then the service will be started. After restart, there is no guarantee that the service will again be starting. Or if the service is started, you have stopped the service, there is no guarantee that it will remain stopped even after reboot. Suppose there are few services that are very, very important to me. I want those services to be automatically activated at the time of booting. So we need to go with chkconfig and you need to say on or off. If you say chkconfig on and a service name, so it guarantees that the service will automatically start at the time of booting. If you say chkconfig service name off, then it guarantees that this service never starts automatically. See, it happens there might be some unnecessary services that pop-ups every time the system you boot. So you don't want those things to be automatically started. You can keep them off. Only the important things that you want automatically to be started during boot, you can keep it on. So this was the case in Red Hat 6. But as we studied yesterday in RHEL 7 and 8, init has been replaced by a new service called systemd. Now systemd does not use service command or check config command. It use single command to operate both the ways. And the command name is systemctl. So by using systemctl command, you can do all these operations: start, stop, reload, restart, checking the status. All these can be performed. And if you want to make a service permanent, that also can be done. How it can be done? Again, by using systemctl, but instead of calling it on and off, we have a better word: enabled or disabled. So guys, enable will make sure that the service will automatically start during boot, and disable will make sure that the service never starts automatically during boot. So that is the difference between this enable, disable, and the other option, right? So that's how it is going to work with systemctl, start, stop, restart, reload. So this is the difference, guys, we are facing now. So Red Hat 7 has introduced systemctl. It has these things. Previously, we used to have two separate commands: service and check config. Let's see, the system might have been booted now. Yes, it is booted. So what I'm going to do now is I'll connect to it and we'll check the status of the service. Any particular service you can take. So guys, the command is systemctl. Maybe I want to check the status of a service. Now, if you don't know the service name, just press double tap. When you press 2 times tab key, it is going to predict you all the service names. Almost 601 services it says are available. And you see all the services will have an extension dot service. Previously in Red Hat 6, we don't used to have an extension. From Red Hat 7, all the services are now having an extension dot service. So what I'll do is, for example, I know one name, crond.service. So you see it is showing the details about that service. It says that the service is right now active and running. And since what time the service is running? It is running since 1 minute 38 seconds. That's when the system started to boot, right? So date, time, when it was started, it is mentioning. And also it is telling you that the service is right now enabled as well. Enabled means the service is running right now, and at the same time it is going to be active automatically at the time of booting. See, one more hint it is giving you: vendor preset enabled. That means by default, when you install this software, this service comes as an enabled state. That means it is recommended by vendor, or it is recommended by the manufacturer that this service should be always running. So it is hinting you that maybe it is an important service that needs to be kept enabled. Anyway, but it's your choice, you want to keep it enabled or not. Okay, guys, now let's move on. And let's say that I don't want to see such a great detail. It is telling me what is the process ID, how much memory it is consuming, it belongs to which service group, what events occur with this service. I don't want to see all these things. I just want to see whether a service is active or not, simply. So I'll say systemctl is active. Which service? crond.service. So it says, yes, it is active. Same way you can say systemctl is enabled. Which service? crond.service. So if you don't want to see the full detail, in a short, you can just say is active or is enabled, and you can find out whether the service is active or not, or it is enabled or not. Now, as the service is active, we check through the status. Maybe I want to stop that service now. It's not important for me and I want to stop it. So simple command is there, systemctl, and the action stop with service name crond.service. Go back and check the status. You will find that the service is inactive and dead. Okay, no problem. I want to start back the service again. So you can say systemctl start service name crondy.service. Very simple thing is there, guys. Start, stop, reload, restart. So you see the service is now active. It started 4 seconds ago. Now I'll show you the difference between reloading and restarting. Just observe that the main process ID what it is using is 2117, and the service was started 4 seconds ago. Let me give it some more time. Okay, now the service started 24 seconds ago, and the main process ID is 2117. Let us say, guys, I have made some change in cron configuration. Obviously, there is a configuration file for cron. So let us say we made some changes in the configuration file, and now I want those changes to be updated. So what can I do? You can say systemctl reload which service crondy. Now you go back and check the status. You see that the service is still running since 57 seconds ago, and the main process ID is still 2117. That means it is the same service that has been continued. There was no disconnection, there was no deflection, and we are still working on the same thing. So this is how what you can do is you can reload a service whenever you have updated any changes in the configuration file. In the coming time, when we deal with some applications, we'll really see this concept. Now let us say that I want to restart a service. So main process ID is 2117, and the service is running since 1 minute 34 seconds. Let me run restart now. I'll say systemctl restart crondy.service. Now you see that the service has been started 1 second ago, and the main process ID is 2160. So earlier it was 2117, which has been replaced by a new process. That means the old process stopped and freshly the service started again. So if reload is not functioning, then the final thing what you can do is restart a service. Okay, now let us say that right now the service is running, that's fine. But after restart, I don't want the service to work. As of now, if you check the status, it says the service is enabled. Let us say I want to disable it. So same command systemctl disable. The service name is crondy.service. Go back and check the status. So you will find that the service is disabled. It is guaranteed now that at next reboot, the service is never going to start automatically. Or if the service is very important, you need it, then you can say systemctl enable and the service name crondy.service. This will guarantee that the service is going to automatically start at next reboot. Let us say that I want to do both activities at a time. Maybe I want to stop the service and disable it. So how to stop a service and disable together? You can say systemctl disable the service. Which service? crondy.service. So this will disable, but if you add one more option now, so not only the service will be disabled, but it will be stopped now. Now when you hit enter, go back and check the status, you will find that the service is inactive and disabled both in a single shot. Let's say that you wanted to enable and start the service at a time. So you can say systemctl enable service name, just add hyphen hyphen now. Now can be placed before service name or after service name. Both are correct syntax. Suppose I want to mention now here, systemctl enable now and then service name. That is also fine. Go back with status and you will find that the service is active, running, and enabled. Right? So this is the way how we have to deal with services. Now, as of now, we just learn how to start, stop, and restart, reload, enable, disable services. In the coming time, we are actually going to learn with some application that how it affects those applications and all. Okay. All right. Now let's move to our another topic after this, which is firewall. So, introduction to a new service from Red Hat 7 again, whose name is Firewall D. Before I can explain you about Firewall D, let me introduce you what was earlier before Firewall D. And in fact, before that, let's understand what's the role of firewall actually, right? So let us say that um, we have our machine like this. This is our operating system. Now, to reach out your operating system, there are many methods what you can use for connecting to your system, right? Like one method we are using through PuTTY with the help of SSH. So these things that allows you to connect to your machine over the network remotely, these fellows are nothing but ports. Now, ports are nothing but the plugs through which you can connect to your system, or they are the doors via which you can enter into your system. Now, total, how many ports are there in an operating system that can be used? You can have 65,536 ports that can be connected. Now, guys, 65,536 doors to enter your house unprotected. What would you expect to happen? So, you might have seen that for SSH, you use a port number 22. Or suppose you're connecting with FTP, the port number will be 21. If you're connecting with HTTP, the port number would be 80. Or if you're going with HTTPS, the port number will be 443. So these numbers are nothing but the port numbers through which people can connect to your system. Now, guys, just assume that you have a house and 65,000 doors are there through which you can enter into the house, and all those doors are open, unattended, no security. So what would you think will happen to that house and whatever precious things that you have inside it? It would be gone at any point of time, right? Theft, burglary, anything would be happen, right? So to protect this, we have one more layer of security, which is called as firewall. So firewall actually is a software or a tool that will help your system to be protected against security breaches, unauthorized accesses and all. So in previous version like Red Hat 6, we used to have a firewall name called IP tables, a very complicated stuff to work with. So this was there in RHEL 6. But from Red Hat 7 and 8, IP table has been replaced by a new service called Firewall D. This has been introduced from Red Hat 7 and thankfully carry forwarded in Red Hat 8 also. One of the easiest way to configure firewall and to allow services port numbers to work, right? So this is where firewall comes into the picture, and it's try to protect your system and make sure that all the ports are not open and free thoroughfare is not allowed. Okay, fine. So let's see how to work with this firewall. See, as firewall itself is a service, you can check the details by using systemctl, status, and firewall D service. So it says the service is active, running, and enabled. If you don't want firewall, see, especially in cloud environment like AWS, Azure, Google, we use cloud-based firewalls. That means they have their own firewalling system. So by default, the firewalls will be shut down for operating system. It would be handled by external firewall instead of internal firewalls. That's okay, that's fine. So in that scenario, you may find the services are down, or in fact you don't want to use this firewall, you also want to use your data center hardware firewall. So in that case also you can shut down the firewall by saying systemctl stop firewall and systemctl disable firewall. Okay, so one more thing, I'll go and I'll check the firewall detail. Now to deal with firewall, you have a firewall commands introduced. So this is a new command line that was not there in the previous version. To check the firewall state, you have a command firewall cmd hyphen hyphen state. So when I run the command firewall cmd hyphen hyphen state, same result, it tells you the service is running or not, what you got with systemctl command. So this is an exclusive command for firewall to check whether firewall services are running or not. Now if it is running, I want to see which ports and which services are allowed in firewall to connect. See, as soon as you enable the firewall, all the ports, all the services will be blocked except the ones that you have allowed to work. To check the details, you can say firewall cmd hyphen hyphen list hyphen all. So you see it's a different command line. After every option, you have two hyphens. Firewall command hyphen hyphen state, firewall command hyphen hyphen list all. So all those commands goes like this. So you see by default, only these three services and their port numbers are allowed. Cockpit, DHCP client and SSH. So SSH works on port number 22. Port number 22 will be allowed. Cockpit is another service that works on port number some 9000 something. So that port number will be allowed. So like that, it is telling you either you can allow the entire service or you can allow a specific port number. That is up to you. Now let us say that I would like to allow FTP service. Maybe I'm configuring this machine to be work as FTP services. So I want this particular FTP services to be granted access in firewall. I want FTP to be allowed. So you can go with a command firewall cmd hyphen hyphen add service. Now if you don't know the service name, press double tap. When you press double tap, it lists out all the service names that can be allowed in firewall. Like you see, I have FTP, I have MDNS, PTP, Radius, RDP, many services are there that can be allowed. So I just want to allow FTP service. Now guys, the moment you hit enter, the service will be allowed. But again, this change will be temporary. That means right now the service will be allowed. As soon as you reboot the machine, again the service will be blocked. So the rule what you are creating will be a temporary rule. If you want to make it up a permanent rule, then you have to add one more option hyphen hyphen permanent. Now this guarantees that even after rebooting, this rule will stay back. Now, when you run firewall command list all, so you see it has told us that the change is successful, but do you find FTP in the list anymore over here? In services, do you find FTP services also allowed? No. Although here it says successful, then why the service is not allowed? See, the reason is when you say permanent, in the background, it updates some configuration file. Guys, while learning services, what did I told you? That whenever you have updated any configuration file and you want that changes to take place immediately, you have to reload the service. So whenever you make any change permanent in firewall, the next step is to reload the service mandatorily. Now, either you can reload the service by using the command systemctl reload firewall, or firewall itself has a reloading command exclusive for firewall. What it is? Firewall cmd, again two hyphens reload. So this will refresh the firewall services, and after reloading, did you see that FTP is now granted access? So then suddenly you'll see that people are also able to connect to your machine using FTP services. Now let us say I want to remove that service. I don't want FTP to be there anymore in the system. So I'll say firewall cmd hyphen hyphen remove service. Last time we said add a service. Now you are telling remove service. I want to remove FTP and this change should be permanent. Again, you observe it is telling success, but when you list out, still FTP will be there in the list. That means the rule is created permanently in the configuration file. That's fine. But right now it has not removed. So whenever you made any rule permanent, you have to use firewall command hyphen hyphen reload. When you run reload command, now you go with list all. Did you see that FTP is gone from the list? Yes, it has gone. So this is the way, guys, how you can add a service or you can remove a service. Now, sometimes what happens is I don't want to deal with entire service. It happens, okay, SSH is allowed. So SSH will be allowed on port number 22. But sometimes we are going to learn this concept, guys. See, sometimes what happens is to improve your security, we call it as server hardening. What we call server hardening. For server hardening, what we does is we will change the default port number. So SSH will not be allowed to work on port number 22. Instead of 22, we'll choose some other port. Same thing you can do with HTTP or any other thing. Maybe I want to allow a specific port number. Later on in the configuration, see, first of all, you have to go to configuration file. You have to disable port number 22. In place of port number 22, you have to enable another port number. We are going to learn that in the SSH class. So we'll learn that configuration changes later. So first you have to do some changes in the configuration file, and after that you have to allow that specific port number to connect. So already service name is allowed, that's good, but by default SSH will only be allowed to connect on 22. So now as I have changed the port number, I should tell which port number to be allowed specifically. So I'll go with the command firewall cmd. Last time I told add services. Okay, hyphen hyphen two hyphen, and we told service. This time I'm going to say add port number. Now guys, you don't have to press double tap, triple tap. You should know which port number you want to allow. Normally what happens, guys, 121024. Till that port numbers are fixed, so we are not allowed to use any port number below 1024. Any new port number you want to allow, usually we allow above 1024. So suppose instead of 22 I want to allow 2222, and this change should be permanent. See guys, it failed. It says that bad port, likely missing protocol. Correct syntax is port ID slash protocol. Now guys, either a service falls into TCP category or UDP category. So you should know that SSH comes under TCP or UDP. The best way is just go with netstat-ntlp and grep for SSH. Do you see SSH is working on port number 22 and it comes under TCP. In fact, you can say NTULP for viewing all. So if it is under TCP, here TCP will come. If it is under UDP, UDP will come. So as you see, SSH is coming under TCP. So correct syntax, what I have to use is firewall command add port number slash the protocol. So with respect to TCP, this service will be allowed. As you have made the change inside it, you should never forget to reload. If you don't reload the service, the change will not take place. Now, if you go with list all, did you see that the specific port number is allowed? So if you are not using the default port number of any service, the better thing what you can do is you can also allow the specific port number what you have enabled in configuration file. So first step is to update the config file, and second step would be updating firewall services. Now if I want to remove that port number again, Then instead of add port, just go back and say remove port. That's it. Add for adding and remove for removing. Thereafter, you have to say reload. Thereafter, you can say list all. So you see a service is now gone, right? So this is the way, guys, how you can work with firewall. See, more on this firewall related things and all we are going to learn when we go for further class, especially in the SSH class. I'm going to show you a very, very important and interesting task using different port numbers, right? And how to redirect one port number to other port number using the firewall forward ports option, right? Anyway, so at least this much we should know. That is very, very important for our day-to-day work. But now, guys, as you see that the virtual machines and all are moved on cloud platform. So if you are working with cloud VMs, firewalls will not be enabled. Firewall will not work in cloud because firewall itself will be there with AWS portal or Google portal or Azure portal. They have built-in firewalls what they will be using. So we have to do whatever we have to do on their firewall, not in internal firewalls. It happens even in your working environment. You may see that all virtual machines what we are creating may not have any firewall enabled. Why? Because your organization might be using hardware firewall. So your data center will have one big firewall device that would be configured to work with entire data center, and that would be managed by your networking team. We just need to inform that this machine should be allowed to connect with HTTP port number this, so they will automatically open the port. So firewalling will be moved to them. Or if you are working on a cloud environment and we are system admin, we have to inform cloud admin. Now that cloud engineer will allow that particular port number in their cloud portal, right? So like that. So internally, if firewall is enabled, this is the way we have to work with. Now the last thing, guys, which I personally does not a fan of it, but okay, it's good for the people who are not aware of Linux command line. As far as I'm concerned, guys, I like the command line because we can do wonders with command line. Now, let us say that you want to allow some XYZ fellow who does not have knowledge of Linux command line. As things are going very user friendly these days, guys, they have introduced the concept called cockpit. Cockpit is a graphical web-based tool through which you can connect to your Red Hat 8 machine. It was introduced from Red Hat 8. So you can connect to your Red Hat 8 machine on web through browser, and you can manage your virtual machine like how we are managing AWS consoles and all. Same way, individual machine can be managed using this concept called cockpit. So by default, you observe that whenever you are logging in, it would give you a message that activate web console by starting some service. Let me show you. I'll log out and freshly I'm going to log in. You see, as soon as I log in, there is a message that please activate web console by using this command. Okay, so if I run that command, the service is started. You can just check it out by going with the status. So you see it is active and the port number it is using is 9090. Remember that port number 9090. You can check in firewall. See guys, yesterday I think there was a question from Olani that when to use that exclamation. So I just misinterpreted that as a pipe. So when you are combining, suppose I wanted to call my last executed command. I hope I have shown you like when I have used cat command. So if I want to call the last cat command, I'll use exclamation cat. It will repeat that command. So if I say exclamation vim, whichever last file I edited, it will repeat that. So whenever you want to call the last command, you can use exclamation and some characters. So last command with fire was firewall command list all. So it went into history, found out that last command I use is firewall, starting with a word fire. So exclamation is to repeat the last executed command from history. So if yesterday I wasn't perfectly understood the question, I hope that was the question, and this is the answer for that. So anyway, you see cockpit service is allowed by default. Now, if I re-log in one more time, you see this time the message changes. You read it, you'll find that it says you should connect to your machine using this name, or you can connect by this IP address using port number 9090. That's fine. I'm going to take a browser. On the browser, I'll type HTTPS IP address and port number 9090. See, it says your connection is not private and something like that, not secure. Ignore this warning by going into Advanced tab, and there is an option Proceed to 192.168.10.40. And you see a login page appears. Type username with which you want to log in, give the password, and you are into it. So you see, it's a graphical method or web access method through which you can check the details of your computer. You can see the graphs, how memory is being used, how many CPUs you have, what is the disk status, network traffic. You can also read the logs if they are available. You can check the disks and the partitions that are available, what are their uses, right? You can check some networking detail. You can add more users. See, in networking, it's asking you, would you like to add a bond or team, something like that, right? In accounts, you can add more users, a new user, what you want. Click on create new account, give the detail, or you can lock, unlock the user, right? You can start, stop any services. Now, many services are there, 600 plus services might be there. So take time to load the list. You can also check some applications that might be connected. You can, do diagnostic reports to check the information about your system. Is it working fine or not? You can deal with kernel dump, enabling, disabling dump, where the dump is collected, where crash location. If you test the configuration, the system might restart to test dump is working or not. You can deal with SE Linux, right? Or if you want to work with command line, then you can go with terminal. When you go to terminal, a terminal will appear. You can change the themes, which theme you want to work, black theme or dark theme, light theme, whatever it might be, right? All those commands will be working out over here. So honestly speaking, it is under test and trials. Hopefully, they might add more features to it, but it is only good for the people who are not aware of Linux command line. As a system admin, as a Linux admin, I never prefer to work with this kind of tools. They are only fancy stuff for, the upper hand people like managers or team leads who are not aware, at least managers, not team leads, who does not know how to work with Linux thing, or some application people who does not know how to work with Linux. For them, you can give such access to work with UI tool and manage it. Otherwise, as far as we are concerned, Linux admin, system admin, we should always prefer working on command line. Putty tool is the best way to connect and manage your systems. So that is it, guys, for today's session. If you have any queries or questions so far, you can put your questions before we wind up the session. No questions, guys? Okay. We'll stop the session here, guys. So tomorrow, day after tomorrow, 2 days, we don't have any classes. Practice nicely all the stuff, whatever we have seen. This week, we have seen very great stuff. So you should be well aware of working with all those stuff. So we'll meet Monday next for our next class. And the link would be the same what you have joined today. Thank you very much, guys. See you on Monday.